Welcome, everyone, to episode 269 of Just Joshing. I'm your host, Joshua Pendeloresco. I write stuff in podcast 2. Today, part 1 of my 2-part conversation with Jess Alter is live. I had a blast talking with Jess. Jess was really anxious with this and nervous, but I will say to her credit, she's one very, very passionate individual, and we talk about a little bit of everything in this episode, which I think is really, really cool. Got some big news today, actually. I have my first major sponsor. They officially start sponsoring me next week, and my first giveaways will be next week with them. And they will feature Jess Alter, so listen to this conversation and check out her books. I'll talk about them more in part 2. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. The sponsorship stuff has worked way better than I anticipated, quicker than I thought it would, and I'm really, really happy about that. It's been a very gratifying week and a bit of just certain things coming back in great ways, and I owe a lot of thanks to a lot of good people, and so thank you guys for believing in me, and thank you to Indie Imprint. I'm looking forward to showing the world what's going to happen with the podcast in the future. This is just a really cool thing that just literally happened today. Yeah, like I have nothing really to say here other than this is the final week of giveaways. I'm going to announce the winner of Adam Dries and Talina Winter's last book tomorrow on Tuesday, because I am doing my best to make sure that everybody enters. Since I was late last week, I'm going to give it one more day. But also this week, Talina's book, I'm having to give away one more copy of The Undine's Tear, so definitely check that out. All right, let's just get to the conversation with Jess, shall we? The following podcast is sponsored by author-editor Talina Winters. Talina has just released her book, The Undine's Tear, which is book 1 of the Rise of the Grigori trilogy. It is a young adult setting which has a very interesting take on mermaids and mermen, which are called Undines. You can find this book on Amazon, Kobo, and all available book platforms, or you can get more information on TalinaWinters.com or through her social media channels at Talina Winters. And by the Raven Podcast. The Raven Podcast is the brainchild of Jason Lavelle. Each episode, he actually narrates a story from an author, and then him and the author get together and they do an interview about the story. This is a perfect commute podcast on the way to work. They're short and very memorable. I really dig Jason's take on interviews and how he conducts himself in telling stories. He's an awesome narrator. He's a great guy, and this is a great podcast. Check it out at theravenpodcast.com or in any podcast app you are aware of. And okay, so the recorder's on. So, like I said,
fantastic. Hi.
Hi. So, if you got anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
Okay, what I have to say is my name is Jessica Alter. I am a science fiction author. I've published 5 books, and I'm also an editor for Indie Imprint. Indie helping indie. That is something I totally believe in.
Oh, me too. So that wasn't incriminating, though.
Incriminating?
Incriminating. Wasn't incriminating.
Oh gosh. I have something good.
Oh.
Shoot.
Ah, crap. Can you hear me?
Right now. I can hear you.
Okay, it just faded out real quick there. Let's try it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's not your fault. Skype's evil.
That's okay. So anyways, I have 30 unpublished manuscripts, basically snarky women's literature. I write snarky women's literature on the side. I have a 30 book series that is not published. That is very incriminating. So do you have like a snarky? So do you have like a snarky name, like like a name that automatically screams "I'm an asshole"? No. Oh my God. I don't know if I'll get in trouble, but there is a name that screams, I'm an a-hole, but it's a real person in orange and in a white house, but I can't really say any more about that.
No. You're incriminating stuff, not somebody else's incriminating stuff. That's important.
Okay.
See, See, here's the thing, right? If you give away your incriminating secrets, well, I mean, that's your choice, right? But if you say that such and such is an asshole, right? Well, then what you're saying, basically what you're saying is you're incriminating somebody else, and they can't defend themselves. They can't defend themselves here. Now, they might truly be an asshole. I mean, it does happen, but I mean, listen, I wouldn't accuse you of being a liar, but at this point, like that, but it's like clubbing a baby seal. It's not cool to pick on somebody that's not here.
Large, giant. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, no. I have oh God, here's where I'm tripping over everything. This is why I don't do voice interviews. I just kind of like typing. That said, I do want to promote, and talk about,
Deep breaths?
Independent authors writing, and actually all authors, all creators. I really believe this time now more than ever we need our creators to be able to come together and support each other. It's really important.
We live in a really interesting time, in the sense that, on the one hand, like there's no doorways, there's no magical gateways to the fifth dimension anymore. They don't exist.
I wish. No, they don't exist. The closest thing we actually have is our entertainment. In particular, for me, reading. Then we also have music. Oh, I love music because it makes me feel so many intense things. Games are fantastic. I'm really, like I said, a huge fan of indie because there are these creations that are not getting through the door.
But I would argue that there is no door anymore. And this is kind of, I think this is the interesting thing about today. I don't need a big five publisher to have a writing career. I don't need a software company to have a video game career. I don't need a record label to have a music career. That isn't to say that I'm against working with anything I just mentioned, right?
Oh
yeah. Right. I'm not. I'm a businessman, and as a businessman, right, I will work. I don't discriminate, right? No, a friend of mine I just interviewed. It's just to me. I got distracted with the power of my tricorder / phone. But what it's saying is, we live in a world today where the challenge isn't to put something out there. The challenge is, I feel, to release our inner pro wrestler. And what I mean by that is. What I mean by that is, so way back when I was a kid, I used to love Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man, and my favorite. And looking back, my favorite stuff way back in the day was when me and Gene Okerlund would interview these wrestlers about house shows. Like these wrestlers would be wearing elaborate costumes, They would look like something out of this world, and they would go, "Let me tell you something, brother." Or, "Ooh, yeah, thinking I'm Macho Man, Randy Savage," right? They would talk about kicking somebody's ass, right? At this arena at 7 o'clock. And you have to be there to see the said ass kicking. Now, it's the most absurd thing in the world. So, I mean, you sit there and think about it. It's the most absurd kind of theater you can possibly see. However, there's a very valuable lesson in this theater, because Randy Savage made millions of dollars in pro wrestling. How did he do it? He believed in himself. He bet on. He had a platform and an opportunity to express who he was to an audience, and he took advantage. The challenge with an indie author today is you have to you have first discover your inner macho man or woman or pronoun of your choice, right? Or you got to figure that out first. Figure out how to project that onto the platforms you are given, and see what happens. The problem today isn't so much that it's possible to create something. It is totally possible to create something, and it's amazing and wonderful and good. There are so many talented people, period, that do amazing things all the time. I truly do believe that. I've interviewed 260 plus episodes so far. I mean, so I can say with certainty that there are some truly amazing, magical people out there. The problem is there's no platform to go. The good thing about traditional publishing, the good thing about a lot of the label, the video game company, all that stuff is those are platforms. They are established platforms. Now, they have their flaws, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they don't, but there's a platform for someone to launch, right? So that you can create your name value. Whereas if you're an indie creator, the problem is you kind of have to fumble into the dark. Now, there are advantages to that, right? You can royally screw it up in the dark and reinvent yourself until you find what fits. And you have time to do that and develop that, which I think is essential for a lot of artists, period. Mm-hmm. But at the same token, even when you have all that, it's like, well, okay, what do I do with it? Does that make sense?
I guess, yeah. A lot of what you were talking about was making me think of for example, Adam Dries, who is amazing.
Yes. He really is.
And spreading the word, as it were. He is an incredible marketing author. He's fantastic. 5 Critical Things. Definitely, I would recommend that as a addition to anybody's reference library.
Yep.
And I do have to agree, and that's actually where I personally fall down. There's another incriminating thing. I fall down because I have trouble marketing myself, whereas marketing other people, it's so easy because I believe in their talent. I see this absolute flow of amazing talent. In fact, I was just thinking about I was listening to your podcast, and you were talking about, I know the name, the Cloud Diver.
Yeah.
And the way that you described it was so compelling. I love the concept of, future archaeology. I love archaeology personally. So the future archaeology where people are going into, the digital ruins.
Yes.
And checking out and looking at what we've left as a culture.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, I mean, who does not like a unicorn that speaks in wingdings? So that's something that I want to support and definitely will be looking for.
Absolutely. I'm literally handing in the last draft of it to my editor this week. I'm literally doing that as we I've been spending the last few days just going through all the edits because I'm a procrastinator at heart, and I've been busy with a zillion other things. But I've been going through it and looking at the problems of the manuscript, and I'm going to be rewriting a couple continuity things, a couple some bigger stuff where I should have more descriptions and stuff like that. Where my editor rightfully beat me, and right, it's I'm fixing those problems this week, and then once they're done, I give it to her again for one last go around. I'm really torn though because I originally had the dialogue with the unicorn and wingdings, but the way she fixed the problem was actually incredibly brilliant. I like how she fixed it, so I'm really torn which way to go with it now, because there is something about a wingding on the page that will make you laugh. But there is also something about describing the wingding on the page that also makes you laugh. And I'm not quite sure which is actually better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is actually an exceptional... That's a great little quandary to sit there and think about. Not only as a writer, but also as an editor. I have my own editor who I will yell at, and then usually the yelling comes down to, I hate you because you're right. And that, that's if I get that in my face from any of the people I work with, I'll understand. I'll appreciate it because I did work really hard to increase my expertise on that from my own Novels. I'm trying so hard to stay calm. It's very hard to talk.
Well, okay.
I like talking about myself, so.
Okay, so we'll go backwards and then we'll go forwards.
Yes.
Okay, backwards.
All right.
Type of personas we're talking.
Yes.
We're talking about success. I think personally, pardon me, imposter syndrome. Every person deals with this. Let me tell you like some of my imposter syndrome things here. Okay, people think I'm good at this podcasting thing. They seem to think so. I have an Aurora Award for it. People want to sponsor me. And I'm like, what am I doing? Right? And I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right? How did this happen? Right? How did this magically occur? And I don't have I don't have an answer, a good one, really. All I've done, like, and then I realized like there's a flip side to this too. And it is something every creator has to kind of come to terms with, right? You have to believe in yourself at some level, because if you didn't, you wouldn't have had the audacity to put your book out there, first and foremost, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
The audacity.
It is audacity.
The audacity of creation, the audacity of publication.
Yeah.
I love that. May I please borrow that?
You may use it. Look. Here's the deal. We are all, like I said, we are all audacious. We are all bold, and we all have to be, because what we're doing, this is what really makes this hard. It's not that we're afraid of failure. I actually thought that was the thing. There is a bit of a fear of rejection. I'm not going to deny that there is a fear of rejection, but actually, see, that's not what we're afraid of. I realized what we were afraid of. We're afraid of expectation, and let me tell you what I mean by that. It's easy to fail. We've all failed. We all know what that feels like. It sucks sometimes, but we've all been there. We've all fallen off that bicycle. But what happens when we succeed? How many of us actually know what success feels like? How many people actually knows what it's like to sit up there and actually make something tangible, valid? That's scary. Because you know what you've just done? You know what you've just done? You've created an expectation. Because if you did it once, you can surely do it again, right? And not only that, now there's pressure. Because now the pressure isn't that to do it because you've done it. The pressure is to keep doing it at least at the level you were at before, if not better. Right? Because you're always pushing to be better. That's a heck of that's what the term. It's a heck of a mindfuck. It can be anyway, right? Getting success is easy in some ways. I'm not saying it is easy, but what I'm saying is you can take enough swings at the baseball bat, and you can succeed. It's gonna inevitably happen, right? If for no other reason than dumb luck, it happens. But what do you do with it when you have it? Do you take advantage of it? Look, like for me, I won out of the Aurora last year. Canadian Associated Science Fiction and Fantasy said to me that my podcast was awesome and made of cheese. Maybe not the made of cheese part. I may be making that part up. But, okay, I got this award. This is awesome. And every day when I go to work, I look to my right. It's right there. It's really cool, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But what does that award in of itself mean? It's expectation. Not that I'm necessarily going to win the award this year, but the fact that I've achieved a certain level of excellence. So I could, on the one hand, I could cower because I'm like, well, where do I go from here? Or I could do what I actually did with it and use it to get me to whatever the next level is. I had the opportunity, because of the Aurora Awards, to interview Spider Robinson. I had the opportunity to get into On Spec magazine as a result of that interview, just, again, through just sheer coincidence, luck, expectation, whatever we want to call it. Right? And then I've used my credentials to start getting sponsors. I started small and I've been gradually building it up. Right? So right. So you understand where I'm coming from here. I could have just won the award and I could have walked away. It's like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah. It's like publishing one book and then deciding that book is supposed to do everything for you, as opposed to keep going.
Yeah.
Keep publishing. Keep creating.
Exactly. So when we're talking about you, okay?
Yes.
Okay. So.
All right.
So we're talking about your fears. Your fears, your imposter syndrome, your anxiety. I would submit to you that you've done a hell of a job.
Thank you.
You've done a hell of a job. Getting to where you are today took audacity. Yes, being bold. It took a lot of sacrifice. It took a lot of guts. Right? I would go so far to say that you probably, if you really took a step back and looked at what you accomplished in the last little bit, you'd probably say, holy shit, I did that?
That is true. Actually, even publishing one book was quite a shock. That actually took a lot of nudging, a lot of pushing from people who believed in me more than I did, which really is wonderful to have.
Yes, which is great. So let's go one step further.
All right.
So let's go one step further. You've done it. You have a 30-book series ready to go, ready to kick some ass, ready to do this thing, whatever you choose to do with it, whether you submit it to a publisher and whether you submit it to a television studio. Here's a thought. You have enough material for a television series. Why not?
Very much so, actually.
Yeah. So at this point, you already know that you've achieved one thing. Well, look at the mountain. Don't look at the mountain. Don't look at the mountain you're on. Look at the next mountain to climb, whatever that mountain is for you. Right? You keep being bold. Keep being, like I said, audacity is going to be your word. That's my word for you. Just use audacity because you need it. You need to be audacious. You need to have a little bit. You need to have a little bit of megalomania. You need to look in the mirror and say, I'm worth it. You need to say those things to yourself because, to be quite honest with you, you probably are. And that's how you got to look at things. Like, yes, it sounds pretentious, but when you sit there and think about this, you are a 1 in 250 trillion being. That is the odds it took for you to come into this world. Chances are there will never be another you again. This is it. This is you. This is what you do in the time you have. This is what you got. And there's not going to be anyone that makes the same impact you do. Now, on one hand, you're like, well, I'm just 1 in 7 billion. Well, no, you're just only one. There's only one Jess Alter. There's only one you. Ergo, right? Make the most of it. Don't worry about where you fit compared to anybody else. Just worry about you. Worry about what you can accomplish, what you can do, what you're here to do, and just go for it. And you know what? Don't worry about the end result. Look, I have 6 rules. Rule 4 is the rest is rain. And the reason I say that one is because you cannot control where the rain falls. You cannot control how success works out for you because there's no magic formula for everybody. Some people get different levels of success. Some people get tremendous success. Some people get no success. The paradox of success is you can do everything right and still not succeed. But the flip side is if you don't do it at all, you never succeed.
Definitely also true. Yeah, no, it's you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Exactly.
I hear that a lot.
Yes. I'm sure you do. So here's the thing.
And then I hear, when are you publishing the next book?
Yes, which we'll get to. Which we'll get to. So your job, This is me to you. Your job is this. Whatever your next thing is, whatever that is, just do it. Don't worry about the end result. Do the best you can with the product you have, with the platform you're given. Take advantage of the opportunity and see where it takes you. And wherever it takes you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. We're not meant to hit a home run every time we go up to the bat. Sometimes we're going to strike out. Sometimes we hit a single, double, triple. Sometimes we get walk on base. Sometimes we hit the home run. Right? But whatever the case may be, don't worry about the result. Worry about what you can do to try to get the results you want. And then let the result be the result. And don't worry about anything else. Because you can't control it.
Well, I know that. I know that. Well, though actually, in a way, I know that getting out there, which is something that I'm not strong at, but I do consistently tell people, publishing is that's the giving birth. And now you have to raise, your creation by going out and marketing. And that's where I'm like, I can't help you anymore.
Okay, so I mean, but that's again. I'm just speaking at this. I'm just speaking like for you, like your anxieties, your fears, and everybody. You know, I just wanna like that like one. You actually sound very sociable. Like you sound like someone I'd have a drink with and have a good time with, and we say, hey, what's up? What's up? I have a good like that. I feel like that would be a thing, right? And,
no, I'd be happy to make you crepes. I make absolutely fantastic crepes.
Nice.
So yeah, I have to make grilled cheese and soup. I make a really good fresh pea soup. That's really good.
Oh, so there you go. Like
I love cooking. Yeah,
and you know what? That's great, right? But you don't sound like an unsocial. Right. You don't sound like an unsocial person. You don't sound like I'm trying to build you up here. That's what I'm trying to do.
Thank you. It's very kind. It's very kind of you, and I understand. Yeah. As being a booster of other people too, and I appreciate you. You know,
it's kind of what I do. It's what the podcast does, and that's like, and what I'm saying is like, authors, the biggest thing, authors, editors, everybody, like we. Here's the thing about today. We are in the social media age, which means that there's a lot more introduction. There's a lot more interaction. There's a lot more. There's just a lot more participation, interact, and with the audience to the creators. That's
full engagement.
Yeah, it's there. That's just the thing. So I was talking about this with my person who I interviewed earlier in the day, because she's very quiet, like very reserved, and I found and no, she's not like she's a very sweet person. She's very funny, but she goes anxious, so she let her anxiety kind of control how she reacted, and that's not a healthy thing, because when your audience feels that, they're not so quick to engage with you, right? And so the challenge you face is, what are you like? There are things you should not share. There are things you should share.
Oh yeah.
Right? There are things you should.
Exactly.
Right? And you need every person has to figure out what those lines are for them, and stay within them. And you'll find with when you do that, that you'll attract the kind of people you want to. And if you don't do that, you may not attract what you could. And it's a very tricky balance today, because it's not. I mean, the best marketing is still writing a great book. That is still the best marketing you can do, and that should be number one. But number two, But number two should be like being open, friendly, engaging in a way you're comfortable with, right? And being willing to share with it, in a way you're willing to share with your audience without making you feel inauthentic. And that's a real challenge.
Oh no, I absolutely agree. Yeah, no, in terms of for my own self, I do have some very strong opinions about. Well, I have some strong political opinions about the fact that I feel that I'm very frustrated about the way things are going right now, because I've always believed in a more diverse and open and oh God. I believe in diversity. I believe in knowledge. I believe in learning about oneself and learning about one's society based on a breadth of available knowledge and opinions and ideas, a discourse. Really, really, honestly, the discourse. So it gets very frustrating when it feels like that's being closed down, and that's actually where I'm having my frustration. In terms of authentically speaking politically, and then sometimes it gets a little much. I don't want to be political on Twitter, because artists and authors, sometimes we really shouldn't be over political on that. But then again, also being a science fiction writer, don't we have a responsibility to point out what we see in society and say, I'm seeing this, what is going on? This is a problem, so I'm going to present it in a different place, in a different time, in a different location, to be able to express my discomfort, my what I'm observing as a person in the world and society. That was actually the point of the Dome trilogy. It was my response, being in the Bush administration at the start of the 21st century. It was very strange. So that was my response to seeing a lot of what was going on back then. And then, Crypt series is more like a more fun what if. It's a little bit more of it's supposed to be a lighter tone, and that's actually the direction I'm going with the next few books. In fact, the rest of the series. It was really light, and then it got a little bit more intense, and now I'm pulling it back to that much lighter read, because I think that for our entertainment, we've got so much intensity out there that it's just, between reality and entertainment, there's only so much you can take. We need a little bit of laughter and that type of levity.
And that was part 1 of my conversation with Jess Alter. Part 2 will air this Thursday. A couple more things. There's going to be a lot more giveaways on this podcast from here on out. Each week from Indian Improv, we're giving out quite a few things on a regular basis. So the new mailing list will be going up for that next week. I will be a lot more diligent in announcing contests and things of that nature. It's going to be a blast. I'm not just giving away books. I'm giving away music CDs, DVDs, games, key codes for ebooks. It's going to be crazy what I'm going to be giving away for the next weeks and months to come. So yeah, it's really cool. But again, there's always going to be openings. So if you're a local author and wants to promote the latest release, there's definitely an option for you. So you can reach me at michaelthroughtime@live.com, michaelthroughtime@live.com if you want to bring up your book for a launch. I have a special deal. I can do giveaways like Talina did this month, Adam did previous month, and if you want to do that. And also, I have no problem promoting other podcasts. You should definitely check out, currently, for example, Jason Lavell's Raven Podcast at ravenpodcast.com. His current guest is JD Estrada. It's definitely a great thing you should definitely check out. But all in all, I can't really complain about where things are going. And I got a lot more great interviews coming up for the month of July. The Aurora series will be starting again towards the end of July. So that'll be really, really cool. And I got some announcements for events I'm doing with When Words Collide, VCon, and more in the future. I'll be making some more announcements Thursday. And that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. You can support my sponsors, theravenpodcast.com. You should definitely check it out. Subscribe to his podcast. Jason is a great podcaster. He's a great writer. Has some really cool stuff there. TalinaWinners.com. Definitely check out her newsletter. You can get The Water Boy. You can also check out her latest book on the Undines Tier, which is just amazing. You should definitely give it a read. You can subscribe to my podcast, Podomatic, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. I'm on all those platforms and more. My books, The Watcher, Stormdancer, Wandering God, are available through miraclepublishing.com. My Twitter handle and Instagram handles are at jpentiloresco. I'm on Facebook as Joshua Pentiloresco, author, podcaster. Thank you very much for listening. Stay inspired out there, and I will talk to you guys on Thursday.
Josh.